Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. We're going live today with Michali to answer a question that's been posted on the forum. I'm in the car, so bear with me. We're just going to wait for Michali to join and hopefully for some of you to show up. Hey Michali, let me add you. Thank you everyone for joining. I think I added you, Michali. Let's hope that you...
Hello.
Hey Michali, hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Okay, amazing. Thank God, doing better than I was last week. I was not feeling so great, but I'm doing much better.
I'm so glad to hear that. It's crazy, like how important physical health is, right?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yeah. I guess I was taking it for granted. Like I don't get sick often, thank God, and like definitely knocked me off my feet.
Right. I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. Yes, I'm really glad too. Let's hit it because, like I said,
Alrighty.
a short time today, and you also do.
Okay.
So let's go for it.
Yes. So this is by Adele. They were dating someone with a diagnosis of BCAD. Seems exceptionally stable. Believe the diagnosis is a mistake. Does take lithium and some others. It's worrying, but doesn't seem conclusive. Also, what's the process to wean? Is this advisable?
I feel like the question was like very clinical. It sounded like very.
Yeah.
Did you get the
Yeah.
same vibe? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few different reactions to this, but yeah, do you want me to share first, or do you want to
Yeah,
go for it?
sure, go for it. I didn't have first of all, I didn't understand the diagnosis. I guess you didn't either know what that diagnosis was.
Yeah, I don't know what BCAD is.
I don't know if it makes such a difference, but I just felt like I was kind of like, okay, like there's medication that sounded pretty like serious medication, not like
Yeah,
something like I don't know. I don't want to like put out names of like what's not serious and what is serious, but it didn't sound like it was like popping I don't know some vitamins. It didn't sound like vitamins.
yeah. I mean, lithium is definitely it's used to treat bipolar disorder. Um, so it's an incredibly effective medication for bipolar disorder, but it is a strong medication. I don't know if this is what the diagnosis is. I also have no idea what BCAD is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess go for it. I'm curious what you have to say about it.
So, I mean, I would get them in a room and I would want to ask them like, well, what is your date feeling about this? Are they uncomfortable with the diagnosis? Are they having a hard time with lithium? I think that sometimes when we feel within ourselves or we see with other people that they're doing really well and they're exceptionally stable, to borrow, this person's terms, we think, oh, now's a great time to go off of everything because look, we're doing fine. But we forget that the reason we're doing fine is because of all the things we're putting into ourselves. Medication, affirmations, breathing, calming down our nervous systems, podcasts, anything that's considered input for our well-being, all contributes to that feeling of exceptionally stable. And so just because if something's working, I wouldn't necessarily mess with it. So I'm wondering, this person wrote, is worrying. What particularly is worrying? Is it the diagnosis? Is it the medication? Are there certain effects that the person is seeing that doesn't work for them? I think just a diagnosis or just a medication without any negative effects isn't necessarily worrying, even though there, and this is a whole other conversation, there's so much stigma around mental illness and psychiatric meds. But I think that if they're doing well, they're exceptionally stable, there are no negative side effects, and you, meaning Adele, are getting your needs met in the relationship and you feel like it's a safe, respectful, loving, connected relationship. And I wouldn't necessarily change anything except your relationship with a mental health diagnosis. It's a totally legit thing to consider when you're dating someone, especially if you're dating them for marriage and it's going to be a long-term relationship. I would never discount that. But I think that if they feel comfortable with the diagnosis and they see that this person has stability consistently over periods of time, then I would say that they're in a great place and there's nothing as much to worry about.
Right.
But get educated on the BCAD, and see what the effects are.
Educate us, because we don't know.
Yes, educate us, help you, help us,
Exactly. But
help us, help you.
It did sound like this Adele wants this partner or date or whatever potential partner to go off the medication. Like, what's the process of weaning? So like that was, I guess, like that's what you were picking up on, which was really smart. Like, for some reason I forgot about that in the question, and you reminded me that, because like what you said, like these type of diagnoses, if it's bipolar, if it's something similar, they can be very, very well managed with like a treatment team, with a treatment, like a very much of like a triaged approach, not just something that like, oh, we'll go off this and we'll try this. Like, that can be upending and uprooting for, the person and their entire system. So that's something to consider. So I think back to what you said, like the education piece is so important, like really understanding, what does this person have a diagnosis of? How does it impact them? What are they doing to manage it right now? What part of that management can be altered, if anything? And if nothing can or should be altered, are you accepting this person completely, fully, lovingly, wholeheartedly in this very space, so that you can support their continued healing, versus be somebody that's trying to get them to be less stable?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's really that balance of seeing if this is a disorder that you can live with, and going into this relationship not feeling like you're going to change the person. It's never wise to go into any relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or non-romantic relationship, thinking that you're going to change the person. You're never going to change the person. The only one that can change a person is themselves. And I would really emphasize like finding out how that person feels about their diagnosis and their medication. Now, just as an aside, if their date wants to wean off the medication because they think it's good and they've checked in with their team, that's something that the psychiatrist should walk them through. It's a red flag if the psychiatrist says something like, just go off of it. Okay. Usually when people are taking psychiatric medications, it's a progression of, lowering the dose by a tiny, tiny bit, allowing the body to adjust, and keep lowering it by tiny bits with the guidance of a psychiatrist. And it can take a few months of weaning off. So for any of you listening who's thinking, to go off your psychiatric meds, I would never recommend just like, oh, okay, I'm done with this, and just throw them, down the toilet. It doesn't really work that way. It's not like Advil. But that's something between them and their psychiatrist. If they're saying to you, hey, I'm having all these really negative side effects, and it's really hurting my functioning and my ability to show up in this relationship, then you, meaning Adele, might say to them, you know what, let's, I totally support you. Let's go get this checked out by your psychiatrist. Right?
It doesn't sound like
that's where they go.
Right. It doesn't sound like that's happening, though, just because it sounds like she said this person is exceptionally stable. So it doesn't sound like that's what's going on. It sounds more like Adele wants this other person to go off the medication for some reason. And I'm not sure if that's a joint conversation or desire, or if it's a desire coming from Adele. And I guess, if it's only coming from Adele, that's like a sign of that the relationship needs some work at this point, because you don't want to go into a relationship with these type of stipulations of wanting your potential partner to change something that they might need, or at least at this time need, things like that. Would you agree?
I completely agree. Yeah. Amazing. I want to be mindful of the time. It's 12:10.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you, Michali. Thanks so much. And thank you.
My pleasure, Faye. So nice to see you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you next week.
Yes. Take care. Have a good one. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Bye.
Bye-bye.